the things that I want to start with is just your kind of progress from junior football. And I mean, I want to go all the way back to when you were playing as a kid, Sunday League football, and then just kind of sort of drive through it a little bit.
Yeah, so obviously I'm a Wyken lad. My grandparents live 6 or 7 doors down from your parents. We went to Wykencroft School, spent more or less every day together for I don't know how long. But football-wise, we never really played with each other. We did school teams, and we did over Wykencroft Field more or less every day, or in your back garden. But yeah, my dad ran a Sunday League team. It's now, I don't know what it's called now, but it was GPT Colts at the time. Marconi, I think it was after that, and I don't know what it is now. It's near the
it's Copswood now, yeah.
But I always played a year above myself, and I don't really know why. I don't understand the thinking behind it. But I did play a year above myself. So at 7, 8 years old, I was playing under 9s, and then so forth. And then we got to senior school. We both got picked for Coventry Schoolboys, which is the pick of obviously the whole. I don't know if it's the same thing nowadays. I think the game's changed with academies and stuff. But the pick of the Coventry schools then play for the district team together. And then a few games in, I ended up getting scouted by Derby County. Myself and another lad from Coventry called Amrit, who was an Asian lad but a very good player, young player. And we went there. My dad always thought that I was probably best out of Cov to concentrate on my football. To say that we were both Jack the lads is probably an understatement. And I think if we'd have both played for the City together, which I wanted to do more than anything, I've always wanted to play for the City. But if we'd have done that, I think we'd have both blown each other's legs off by the time. I think we'd have probably been booted out. So it's probably the best thing for us both to have been separated. And then obviously my career went on from that.
So Eva, I'm just gonna stop you there. Do you remember you just mentioned Amrit?
Yeah.
What a player he was. He was like he looked about 18, didn't he, when we were sort of 10, 11 years of age?
Yeah, he was a man boy, wasn't he? It's like he was born with a hairy chest. He was the hairiest 11-year-old I remember ever seeing. But
he had the cameras, TV cameras following him around and whatnot, didn't he? Thought he was going to be the first ever Asian footballer.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, I think he was sponsored by Joe Bloggs, but me and you were kids. We used to head into town, the Shambles or whatever it was, and buy click suits and fruit. So yeah, being sponsored by Joe Bloggs at 11, 12 years old was a big deal, and everyone thought Amrit was really going to say, and he was, he was a fantastic young player. Just as we got older, everyone physically caught him up, and then that's when it went a bit sideways for him. But yeah, he was a big, strong unit at that age.
Yeah, so you played a lot of sort of junior football locally, but then when Derby come and mate, honestly, when you've always been tall, but you just seem to go from strength to strength. You went into that Derby youth team, and you had a good set of players. You've done really well as a group, I think, collectively, didn't you? You had Adam Murray, one or two others in there.
Yeah, Lee Grant, who's now sub-goalie at Man United. Marcus Tudgay, Lee Camp, another goalie that's playing in the Championship Premier League. So that youth team it's such a strange thing, because all my friends, like you, close mates growing up, McSheffrey, Craig Peed, etc., all the lads the same age, kind of all played for Cov, and then I'd come back and see you at weekends. But my Derby team was, pretty good, and we had great coaching. From 11 till 21, I had a guy called Steve Round, who's now assistant manager at Arsenal. He's been assistant manager of England. So coaching-wise, I couldn't have really got much better. And as you know, as we developed through the ages, we ended up playing each other in the semi-final of the FA Youth Cup. I managed to get myself sent off at Highfield Road, but other than that, yeah, I mean, it's crazy how like we both followed a path, different paths, but kind of ended up in the same place.
So, Kieran, I'm just gonna bring you in on this little story because it was hilarious. So the Coventry and Derby County were drawn in, was it the quarter final of the FA Youth Cup?
It was either that or the semis, wasn't it? I can't remember which one it was. I'm sure it was the semis because you played West Ham in the final, I think.
That's right, yeah. Well,
so that was the first FA Youth Cup final then.
That's right, yeah. Yeah. So I think we were winning the game, but we had this little ginger winger who was just. He was like a mosquito. He was a bit of a wasp. Anyway, Evo's always sort of wore his heart on his sleeve, and I think he got under your skin a little bit, didn't he?
Yeah, it was just one of them games where I was just trying too hard, and
yeah,
I think I can remember he did like a bit of skill on the far side, and I thought, I'm not having this. And the ball was kind of running out, and I remember it like it was yesterday. The ball was running out of play, main stand side, and he's legged it, backheeled it back in. But you know when your momentum takes you onto like the hoardings. So I was gone into the hoardings, and I thought, this is my chance. You know, this is it. I can take everything here. I can take the ball. I can take a man, and I can sit on Gosford Street. So I thought, yeah, what a chance this is. Just as I've started my slide, I thought, oh no. And he's nicked it between my legs, and I've just ended up wiping it, putting it onto the park near the Stoke Conservative Club. Get the red card. As I'm walking off, my mum and dad, my nan and granddad, my cousins, my aunt, they're all there. Like all schoolmates were there watching us, and yeah, I just let myself.
Lost it.
Yeah, lost it. I think.
But then, just moving on to the sort of next chapter for you, mate. You started to impress in reserve team football, and then move into the first team, didn't you? Really young.
Yeah, weird. Kind of from that cup run, I think Jim Smith, the manager at the time, started to recognise that we had a few good young ones, and I think the end of the next season, he chucked a few of us in the Premier League with a few games to go. You know what? It was amazing to play with, you know, the likes of Rob Lee, Warren Barton, former England internationals, some big Croatian like Asanovic, King Clancy, Igor Stimac, them Ravanelli, them sort of guys. And I wasn't really ready for it, and it wasn't probably the best thing for me. Yeah, it was great that I ended up playing 60 or 70 games for Derby, but I think mentally it affected me because I was kind of, you know, believing my own hype, and I got a bit overconfident. I felt like the world owed me something, and it wasn't the case. You know, in hindsight, it's a wonderful thing to play in the Premier League at 17, 18 years old, but I wasn't ready for it. I was too immature, and everything that went with it kind of set me back 2 or 3 years from that, to be honest.
I think just going back to what you said about being Jack the Lad, I think most people who know you would say, what a funny guy. I mean, just the stuff you do is just comical. And I'll never forget after you'd made your debut and you come back to Coventry and you phone me up and he says, yeah, come outside. And I walked out my mum's and I just seen you there in the Saab. Do you remember the Saab?
Yeah, I think I passed my test at 17. I had 9 cars by the time I was 21.
And I don't think any of them had a roof, did they? You had a convertible, everything.
Yeah, I mean, I was 6'4", and I ended up even squeezing into an MG at one stage. Really good. But no, I can remember us having first cars, and Tom had a blue Citroen Saxo that he ended up flipping. You know, again, it was that kind of start of where young players were starting to get more from the game, and the game was kind of transitioning. So the money was good, but also the way you were treated was good. There wasn't the kind of jobs, and the hard graft was phasing out at that stage. Yeah, we had to do them, but it wasn't to the extent what previous people did. And as I said before, I laugh with my team now, and it's weird how I've transitioned into being a manager. But they think that they're cracking it, and they're got all this banter, and they can do this and that. Me and Tom, Gary McShane, we've been there and done it. Wore a t-shirt, I can remember wearing a silver suit to the year 2000 to the Sky Dome and Icon Diva. Long before there was table service and all this that players have nowadays. Me and Tom were in Icon Diva with silver suits on. Tom, because he played for the City, had I can remember, like a Sky Dome gold card. and weirdly enough, because I played for Derby, and I think Tom was the same with Colin, they were both Premier League clubs, they used to give you these McDonald's gold cards. And it's weird, like professional athletes, looking back then, had McDonald's gold cards, and you would just go in and be ordering 7 Big Mac meals and stuff. Yeah, just mad, crazy times. But kind of, in hindsight now, I learned so much from that. As I said, you get carried away with yourself, and it took me leaving Derby to go to Chesterfield for 2 years to really, get myself back down to earth again. It was 50-50. You'll either be in the game 3 years' time, or you'll be out the game in 3 years' time. And I had a very good manager in Roy McFarland who said, "Look, you got to knuckle down. You got to knuckle down now, because if you don't, you'll be out of the game." And fortunately enough for me, like he put me under his wing and made me captain and gave me some responsibility, and that responsibility really helped me.
Brilliant. So you've gone to Chesterfield. How long did you spend there?
I was there 2 years, before QPR bought me. Yeah.
And how was that? How was that sort of move from? I mean, it's a big move going from Chesterfield to London. Yeah.
Again, the whole thing it was so strange. I had a few clubs in for me at the time, and to tell a quick story, I was. There used to be a competition Coca-Cola did where a fan could win a player, and you'd win 250 grand to spend on a player, and Brighton won it. And Mark McGee rang me while I was in Mallorca and said, "Oh, we've won this competition. We want to buy you with this Coca-Cola winner player." I was like, "Oh, right. I've just had a phone call 10 minutes ago off QPR, and their chairman was Fabrizio Ravanelli's agent at Derby. So it's such a small world. So I already knew him. So I'd already agreed to kind of join QPR, and they were in the process of flying out to me in Mallorca to sign me. So it was just crazy. At the time, I had probably 4 or 5 options, and I chose QPR probably because of the chairman and that I knew him. But again, as a young lad, I was just too young to move to London. I just got with my wife now. She didn't move down with me for the first year, and I was just hanging around, 22 years old, in the big smoke with.
Money to burn.
Yeah, knowing me, it was a recipe for disaster. Time is my enemy. When I've got time, I need something to do. Like I need to be around. So me and a few of the other young lads at QPR probably went down the wrong path and was looking at certain sites in London that we shouldn't have been. The nightclub scene and bars and drinking. And again, like I'd phased out of Chesterfield and come back to myself and was ready to kick on again. And then that year at QPR, I think I was on the transfer list after 6 months because it was too much for me, too young. And yeah, Danielle ended up moving down the next summer, but she just got a job. She'd started 3 weeks. And then I got a phone call saying Blackpool want to take you on loan in League One. Do you fancy going? I was like, well, yeah, I'm not going to play here, so I need to go and play. And then, wow, that move ended up being more than anyone could ever expect. It was unbelievable.
Mate, Kieran's been researching. He's told me how much he loves Ian Holloway.
Oh, he was a legend, Ian Holloway. When you got to the Premier League, I was 14, and every week we talked about Ian Holloway. What did he do at the weekend? What interview did he give? He was just such a laugh, and everyone around school was just like, Blackpool were the underdogs, and everyone wanted them to win every week.
Do you know what? It's strange because, funnily enough, it was the boss that bought me at QPR. He was the manager at QPR, and he was completely different. He was 4-4-2, very direct. He was always intense, but like angry all the time, and just wanted direct football. He obviously got sacked he'd moved on to Plymouth and then went to Leicester and got sacked from Leicester. So he had some time out of the game. So when the chairman's rang me and said, Evo, like, Ian Holloway's going to join the club. What do you think of him? I was like, no, please don't. Don't appoint him. Like, I'm done. If you appoint him, I'm done. And then he ended up appointing him anyway, so we obviously... And then I remember the gaffer ringing me saying, look, what's ever gone on in the past is finished and done with. I've changed. I want to be I want to play proper football now, attacking, expansive football. And weirdly enough, being, Tom will say I'm 6'4", but I've always been technical. I'm not really... Yeah, I like a tackle and whatever else, but I like to play as well. Like the amount of time.
Mate, just to drop in on that. I mean, you haven't been a centre half. You've been a striker. You were a striker for I don't know how long.
I was a striker, then I moved back to midfield, and then I moved back to centre half. Kind of when we played for Caledon Castle, me and Tom used to manage the team, and we'd get ourselves 1-0 up, both play centre half for the rest of the we ended up beating McSheffrey School by doing that. We had the worst team in the world. So, yeah.
But Eva, I watched you come to the Rico on a couple of occasions, and you were without a doubt probably the best player on the pitch. I mean, although you were playing as a centre half, you just seemed to be the player in the Blackpool team that was just opening things up. It was, don't get me wrong, it was direct. It was quite, diags here, there and everywhere, but they were pinpoint. They were going exactly where you wanted them to go.
Well, we had a bit of a set routine where we'd leave our opposite wide man high, wide and cheating. So, more or less our game plan was either give it to me or Charlie Adam, and we just hit that diagonal, and if the opposition's fullback's gone forward, then we'd leave our winger cheating. It'd be an acres of space, and it used to kill teams. Teams didn't crack onto that for a couple of years. It's weird, but like I always used to beat the City at home, but I've never won at Highfield Road or the Rico. I think even one day, I'm sure Craig Peed scored against us at Highfield Road one day for Derby.
So he only got one in his career, man.
Yeah, I'm sure it was that game. I always remember it like it was yesterday because I think it was on telly and Mo Konyich, do you remember him? Big Mo Konyich? It's absolute world. He comes out the crowd and like topless. The first time I've ever seen a streaker live on a football pitch. I still remember it now. But yeah, we had set routines, set patterns that we would like kind of stick to. And as I said, it used to cause the opposition so much difficulty. It was really enjoyable. As a centre half, we used to concede loads of goals. Like we were so open, and you'd end up defending 1v1, 2v2 with some of the best players in the world eventually. But you know what? It was so good to play, and I used to enjoy it because we'd hurt teams and we'd score and we'd be relentless with what we did. And that's kind of when I started learning about mentality and how important mentality is in football. Technical ability, yeah, massive, obviously. But the mental side of the game is underestimated. And you have to believe in yourself and believe in your team and believe you're the best and be relentless with what you do. And that Blackpool team had that in abundance. And kind of that's when I started to learn and pick that side of the game up and go into leadership and read about leadership. And yeah, that's kind of moulded me into the manager that I am now. It's kind of gone full circle, but
it must have been. You must have had to pinch yourself at times though, because me and you have gone from Wykencroft Field playing Wembley singles and just kicking about with our mates to all of a sudden you're in a tunnel at Old Trafford, or you're at the Emirates, or surreal.
I look back now and I think, Stato will tell me probably, but I think I've played at Wembley 5 times. I've been promoted out of every league. I've scored in every division. I've played in the Championship playoff final twice, the biggest game, most financial game in football. I've played at all the top stadiums. Yeah, like just a normal kid from Coventry, like to be able to achieve that and look back on that now is crazy, really. My missus always says to me that, I could fall in a pile of dog crap and I'd come out smelling of roses. And you'll probably say the same. Like, I just got this, you can call it luck if you want, but I always seem to get a break at the right times. And now it's about making the most of my opportunities, whereas in the past, I didn't really do that, especially in the early stage of my career.
I think you remember Ray Goodin?
Yeah.
So I've bumped into Ray a few times at events and different things like that. And every time I see him, your name comes up and he says, I made a mistake. I made a mistake there. And it's just funny because I think it goes back to that opinions and what people see in different people. And it's such a big part of the game, isn't it? You connect with somebody, or somebody suddenly says, do you know what? I really like what I see in that person. Can make all the difference to your career.
Huge. And again, thankfully for Ray, that he probably didn't rate me that highly, because it probably gave me a different path. And it's, the paths ended up being amazing. I mean, like I said to you before, all I ever wanted as a kid growing up was to play for the city. I used to go with my nan and granddad to watch. I was a season ticket holder. Sitting in the Mitchells and Butlers stand. I used to go to the Conservative Club before the game and have faggots and mushy peas, and everyone I speak to from outside of Cov don't even know what faggots and mushy peas are. So it's, that's what I wanted, and I wanted Cov to really come out as, when I was a young player, to say, do you know what, we really want you, and that never happened. And it really hurt me, but it also gave me that inspiration to kick on and keep my head down and make sure I make something of myself. My biggest inspiration, and it always has been, is when people knock me or doubt me, And I've had that throughout my career. I had it at Derby to start with, then I got on the first team, then I had it again, and I had it at Chesterfield, then I had, at QPR, then not so much at Blackpool, but then I left Blackpool, went to Chesterfield and ended up winning trophies there. And then Chesterfield, I could have got the manager's job, they chose someone else, and then I got a job at Barrow, and then I wanted to prove everyone at Chesterfield wrong that I've done that. It's kind of that, it fuels my fire, that doubt that people, when they knock me, I want to really prove them wrong.
What about, so I've been sitting down watching a few highlights of your career and whatnot, and obviously you've played in the playoff finals in these big games, but one thing that I did have a little look at was, talk us through that red card at the Emirates.
Yeah. So obviously we just beat Wigan first game of the season 4-0. So we're on away from home as well. So and we had to play the first few games away from home because typical Blackpool couldn't get the stadium ready in time. So we're like, second game Emirates, we'll take these on. Then we're still, I can remember the Emirates. I've turned up there. The changing room's like a palace. I felt like when I walked out onto the pitch, I had to wipe my feet before I went on it. It was that good. It was like a carpet. And you line it up against like your Van Persies and your Fabregases and, top players. And at the time, it was 0-0 after about 15 minutes. We're doing well. We're doing great. And I can remember, of all people, it couldn't have even been Van Persie. It was Marouane Chamakh. Marouane Chamakh somehow beat me for pace, which isn't hard because he's and I always thought I touched the ball, but I didn't. And I've brought him down from behind. The guy sent me off. So then I'm sitting back in the Emirates changing rooms, and I remember it again like it was yesterday. And there's TVs all around with the game on. And I'm sitting there, and it's 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0. And I'm thinking, oh, what have I done? And it ended up being 6, and Theo Walcott got 4. I was left side centre back, and my left back got tortured. And I just remember sat there thinking, this is all my fault. But credit to the gaffer. The gaffer came in and said, "Don't worry about it. It's part of a learning curve." And that, like I said to you before, that team was so mentally strong and resilient that I think I missed a League Cup game in the week, and then we ended up playing the week after at home against someone we won. So it was a great experience. One that I'm not too downbeat about. I've got sent off at the Emirates. I always told my old man I'd score Stretford End at Old Trafford, and I scored an own goal at Old Trafford for Man United. That's another thing, another stat you've got there. I've scored for Man United. Not many people can say that. So yeah, it's crazy really looking back. And just going back onto our school, like Caledon Castle if you look at the history books, it has an unbelievable record for producing athletes from Marlon Devonish, going back in time, Bobby Gould, myself, Tom, Madison now.
Yeah, I was going to say Madison went there.
Yeah, it's crazy the amount of people that have, as a sporting school, have come out and done really well. And Tom will tell you, it wasn't really sports based.
Yeah, it wasn't. You're right. We picked our own team, didn't we?
Yeah, we used to be manager. Me and Tom were managers. The teachers couldn't be bothered to do it. I can remember trying to play a cricket one game, and someone had set fire to the AstroTurf cricket. It was. Yeah. Looking back now, I just don't know how we did it. To be honest,
I think what people listening in at the moment will be really interested to kind of hear it is your career path, because you're obviously a Coventry lad, and you've gone and done some absolutely amazing things, and you've spent season in the Premier League, just kind of living everybody's dream. I know when you were playing in the Premier League and you were playing for Blackpool, all the Cov guys here, all our friends, were all rooting for Blackpool for the whole season just to see you do well and really hope for you. And I think the style of football as well, because you were attacking, it was flamboyant, it was fun to watch.
Yeah, it took us probably 3 or 4 games to get over that, you're playing against your heroes kind of thing. No matter what you say, you're all human beings, and when you stood there next to Didier Drogba, Van Persie, Rooney, whoever it is, you look at them and you just think, wow, how have I got here? But eventually that wears off, and then you just want to win. And like you say, we were the neutrals' second favourite. We were everyone's second favourite team. Everyone wanted us to do well, and we were so unlucky. We had 39 points. Every year that would have been enough to stay up ever since. To go down the last game of the season, I remember we had the last 2 games. We had Tottenham away and Man United away, and we were beating Tottenham 1-0 with 20 seconds to go, and Defoe whips one in from 35 yards, and we'd have been safe if that wouldn't have gone in. So yeah, that season was amazing. We beat Liverpool home and away. Still got Fernando Torres in here somewhere, I think. Yeah. But yeah, just amazing memories.
I think for me, knowing you so well, nothing surprised me in terms of I knew that you as a person had it in you to go and be a big star in the Premier League, if that makes sense, because you physically you're a big guy, do you know what I mean? And you know how to organise, you're a leader, you've always been, I think most clubs you've been at, you've pretty much been captain of as you've progressed through your career. And obviously managers look at you as that person to control the dressing room, and I can understand why you will become very successful in management.
Yeah, we were speaking about this before. I think if you'd have asked players that knew me up until 25, would I have been a manager, they'd have all said no, because they'd have said he's too much of a Jack the Lad. He's nuts. He's bonkers. Like, he just wants to be partying all the time and having a laugh. Whereas that side of me has always been there, and it will always be there. But it's kind of took a back seat now to being a leader understanding what it takes to get to the top. Because I've been there, I understand what it takes. I understand about mentality. I understand about leadership. I understand how to connect with fans. I've always had good relationship with the fans wherever I've played. And yeah, I've taken that now, that attacking style, not as gung-ho as Ollie's Blackpool, but also with the belief and mentality of, you sent me it in the week that we're getting a great reputation now that people are calling us Barcelona because of how we play, which is great, And I always said when I got an opportunity in management, I had to be true to myself, and I wanted to do things my way. Everyone said to me, you can't get out the National League playing football. You can't win games consistently at that level playing that style. And I think, again, that going back to that determination thing, that I'm going to prove people wrong. And we've recruited really well. I said to Tom in the week, I have a great relationship with the lads off the pitch in terms of, we'll have a laugh and a joke, but they know as soon as it gets on the grass or on match days, it's strictly business. And we are serious. I'm relentless in what I ask of them. I'm demanding. They'll tell you that. There isn't a minute go by where I take my foot off the gas. Football in general, footballers in general, are great at excuses. Unbelievable. The king of excuses. You can blame his nan, your dog, your cat. Didn't play very well today because, I walked over a drain on the way to the game. Everything. They're so good at making excuses, and as a manager now, I need to take all them excuses away from them. And I always say to them, self-analysis is the biggest part of football. You need to look yourself in the mirror every single day and say, am I doing enough? Am I making the best out of what I've got? And I think now I can look back on my career and say, do you know what? For someone who's 6'4", runs as quick as a snail, just a working class lad from Cov, I did all right for myself. I probably did make the best of myself, with obviously a lot of opportunity and some luck along the way. But yeah, I think I like to think that I look back at it now and think, do you know what? I did all right for myself.
Do you think?
Sorry, Kieran, go on, mate.
Do you think managing Barrow, that's in the National League, you have more of a chance to experiment with how you play? And if you were in, the Football League, do you think there'd be more pressure on you from a chairman or something?
Do you know what? Good question, but no, because men's football is winning football. And now that, you need to win, and you're only ever 3 games from the sack. I say that all the time. You lose 3 games on a spin, you're under pressure. You win 3 games, you're Pep or Jose Mourinho. It's that simple, and that's the pressure of management. But the National League now, there's teams with 2-3 million quid budgets. Blackpool, bearing in mind, got promoted to the Premier League with a £3 million budget. And there's teams in the National League with that kind of money, and they're spending that kind of money. And obviously, with the foreign influx of players in the top end of the game, the good English ones filter down naturally. So it's a good standard and a good level. Now, it was a risk for me to go there. Barrow were bottom. They just survived the last game of the season the year before on goal difference. They've been renowned for playing long ball. Location-wise, it's the end of the earth. It was a big risk for me to go, and it was a risk for them to take me as well. But I always thought to myself, as a good grounding, I need to learn, and I need to, not so much grassroots, but do the hard yards. I haven't got loads of staff. I have to do recruitment myself. I have to do day-to-day sessions. I'm always out on the grass. I love being out on the grass. I have to do all the media obligations, I have to do budget management, and to learn all that at such an early stage of my management career is a huge thing for me, and it's been a massive help.
Right, so Evatt, let me take you back to a little time when you were playing for Blackpool, and I phoned you. I says, Evatt, we need a bit of a night out. I need to come and see you. We need to get together. And he says, yeah, come. And I said, can I bring my brother? And we both know he's bad news at times, and he's hard working. He's always kind of mischievous and up to no good. But you two have obviously always got on like a house on fire. So he come up with us. Anyway, we'd had the night out, and you had to get up and go into training for something the next day. I don't know if you were on like a recovery day or something, but you'd left us two in the house.
Yeah.
And you come back from training and we took all your living room furniture into the front garden. And you come back and there was a chaise lounge on the front wall of your house.
I had a big pink chaise lounge. Pride and joy that was. And yeah, I can remember it being on the front garden along with everything else.
He was always bad news, wasn't he, Jack?
Oh, honestly, he is the funniest guy. Growing up, we always obviously, we used to do everything together, but Jack would always be close behind. And I always remember, we just used to leather him over the grass. And we'd play World Cup singles, and we'd just let Jack have it, and just a little kicking him.
I mean, he was what, 2.5 years younger than us, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But I think it made him into. I mean, he went obviously on to West Brom and played at West Brom for a long time, and went to Telford, played at a lot of different clubs. But I think a big thing, and going into the sort of mental side of football, we know he's a big guy. He's probably 6'2", but about 20 stone and carrying a lot of weight. But I think that comes back to that depression of coming out away from full-time football.
Yeah, it can. It can hit you hard. And this is the thing. I can remember, and you'll be the same as a young lad, everyone, all the older players and the older statesmen and people with experience would say to you, what are you going to do if you don't make it? What are you going to do? What's your thoughts? What's your second career? What's your backup? Do you know what? We used to think at the time, I don't need a backup. I'm indestructible. I'm invincible. There's no way I'm not going to make it. I'm in this bubble, and this bubble is going to last forever. And then one day someone does just go pop, and it's, wow, what am I going to do? And there's so many players like that, that are really talented. That Jack growing, I can remember, he used to hold his own with us two, who ended up, playing at very good level. So you have to look back and say, unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't happen and you don't make it, and it goes back to the no excuses thing. But then it's how you deal with it, because I still think in football we have to do more to educate young players. We have to do more to help them. We have to do more to give them life skills. We came out of school straight into professional football. I didn't know how to handle a bank account. I didn't know how to live on my own. I didn't know how to buy a car, how to finances, how to have a mortgage. I didn't know any of that. And it was kind of, well, here's all this money, get on with it, and you don't do it properly. You don't respect it enough, is what I'll say. But that's down to a lack of education. And we have to do more in the game to educate young players on life skills and how to cope with adversity, how to deal with adversity. When things don't go your way, how to come back from that. And as I said, I don't think the education's there to do that at the moment.
I think that's what Scott Shearer was talking about on the last episode, because he's going into financial advising footballers, because he got stung when he came out of school. And he just says people need to know these things.
It's amazing, honestly. I've sat there in training grounds and there's been proper shysters coming in, going, why don't you buy this watch? Why don't you buy this car? Why don't you invest in this? And there's no background to it. There's no background checks. It's all material things. Why don't you buy this jumper or buy these jeans or whatever else? Spend thousands on this. And you end up doing it because you just feel like you want to be part of the crowd, They've come into the training ground and you want to be Jack the Lad. And again, it's educational. You don't think about the 55 years I'm hopefully going to be alive without football. I was very fortunate that I didn't retire till I was 36. There's not many players that get to 36. So when you're spending this money at 21, 22, 23, even going back to 17, 18, 19, and those voices in your head saying, or your mum and dad or all the older people that are saying to you, Ian, you need to save. Ian, you need to think about the future. What about this? What about that? And you're in that bubble going, nah, I don't need that. I've got time for that. I can save that in 20 years or whatever. It doesn't work like that. You've really got to get inside these young players' heads and say, look, you need this for the future. Football is a very, very small part of your life. I played for 21 years professionally. Still only a small part of my life. I've still got 30, 40, 50 years hopefully to come. So you need to be in a position to be able to sustain that. And there's so many players that aren't because they end up spending money through a lack of education, in my opinion.
So in terms of that with young players, and how would you have handled yourself as a young player? What do you think? Because you must find as a manager that you're dealing with different personalities.
Yeah, it's the game's completely changed. Going back to what I was just saying about adversity and about how you deal with setbacks and negativity. You know, as kids growing up and young players, young professionals, you know, the senior players would let you know under no uncertain terms if you weren't doing what they expected. You know, you'd end up being pinned up against the wall or being boot room smashed with boots or whatever. That can't happen in the modern day. You can't treat people like that anymore. So you have to give them kid gloves. The way that they're being educated in schools now, people don't get told off anymore. They can't deal with being shouted at. They can't deal with criticism. So you have to find a way to get inside their heads. And management is the same as managing in any business, in any walk of life. You have to manage people, and you have to understand pretty quickly what makes those people tick. You know, what gets inside their head, what motivates them, whether it's money, fame, women to some extent, whatever it is. You need to find out what it is pretty quickly and then motivate them accordingly. And once you do that, they'll start playing for you and running through a brick wall for you and giving you that extra 1% that you need to win football games.
So things are still a little bit uncertain as to where you go from here with Barrow and whatnot. And I know you're waiting on news yourself, so I'm not going to kind of ask for your opinion on that at the moment because that will all be sort of top secret and whatnot. But do you feel like you've obviously brought out the best in the players that you've got at the moment? Do you think are they enough to go up to the next level, or will you need to sort of, if you do progress, revamp the things that you got? Or
the thing in football, you know yourself, you can never stand still. You can't ever stand still because the minute you stand still, someone moves past you. So you've always got to look to improve. However, what I will say is that we have a young team that are improving fast. And when you give them belief and confidence and a way of playing that other teams find difficult to play against, you can get proper results. And I do think that if and hopefully when we get promoted into League Two, we will compete. We're not going up there to make the numbers up. Something that I've learned, and I use it all the time, I can't deal with mediocre. I can't deal with mediocrity. I just can't do it. I have to be the best at whatever I do. I want to be the best at whatever I do. And I've kind of given them that mentality as well. And they want to improve and they want to be better. And we're going up to compete at the top end of the table, not just to survive.
So are you keeping yourself fit then?
Yeah. Well, I hadn't done. I've been on a 2-year eating binge until the start of lockdown. And then I thought, you know what? You've got to get yourself back in shape. It's weird because when you go from being so strict and training every day and being told what you can and what you can't eat and what you can put in your body, to then being the boss and being a manager and you make your own decisions, I'm just thinking, do you know what? I'm going to have that because I can. You know, and I've always been a chocolate fan. You know, we used to stop at the shops after school. Instead of me buying a 30p bar, I'd buy a £1 one and just munch through that. And when you stop training, them £1 chocolate bars that have now turned into £3 somehow, you end up eating them, and you end up going straight on your stomach. So I put on about 15 kg in 2 years, but I'm back down to playing weight now. I've lost nearly 3 stone during this lockdown. Wow. I've been running, 40, 50k a week. I've been doing Joe Wick sessions, not the kids ones, but the real ones, dressing up as Spider-Man and stuff. But Yeah, Fancy Dress Friday, amazing. Do it.
Do you reckon you could still get your boots on and do a job in that team?
No, I don't. The game's moving fast, and it's so quick now. And players, the game's changed so much that even players in the lower down the pyramid, your leagues 1, 2, National League, they're all 24/7 proper pros. You know that take protein and live in the gym. You know, we never used to live it. Well, I speak for myself, but I never saw a gym till I was 24, 25. You know, it just wasn't what I wanted to do. I just wanted the ball. Give me the ball. But these lads now are so fit and strong. I think up in my head I could play, and if I had the ball, I could definitely play. But the speed of it would be too much for me, I think.
So I don't know if you're
slow when I was 20, slower now.
I don't know if you've seen when last September the Coventry youth team went down to West Ham. Right. And we played against. We played a remake of the cup final from 1999 or 2000 or whatever it was. And you're dead right. It was almost slow motion.
Was it?
I know.
I mean, how did everyone play?
Yeah. It was quite a big. There was a really good turnout. I mean, the only problem that we had was there was a few of the players in there. I think Bertie Brayley's boy is playing at a professional club, and you know, like they're 14, 15, 16 years of age now, about to go into the professional game. Right. And we said you could only have somebody connected to you play, so no ringers, no you know, nobody that had no involvement in it had to be. But it was a good game. It was slow mo, but
it does pass by. But going back to that, I mean, we both know growing up in the same age group, Joe Cole was the best young player I've ever seen. I've never seen a young player since do the things that he could do. He was just magical, like incredible. We used to play, you know, Lillishall, didn't we, when Peeds was there and Chefs, so we used to get annihilated by them. They were so good back in the day, and that's all stopped now.
Do you know what? I remember playing a game at the Lodge. Remember the Sky Blue Lodge?
Yeah.
And we played out the front, and we played West Ham on the front pitch. Yeah. And I remember Defoe was playing up front for West Ham, and I remember he was kind of an emerging kid at the time. And I remember thinking, I need to be on my game here. And I thought I was actually playing well. And then we come off, and he banged a hat trick, and I got absolutely roasted in the changing room. And I was like, I had a decent game, but like players like that, just they knew where the goal was, didn't they? They didn't have to play well; they just scored.
You could just tell that those, like him, Joe Cole, Carrick, you know, them, the best players of our age group, were just head and shoulders above everyone else, really. And they all went off to be internationals. Telling another funny story, I tell this story all the time. Going back to when I was playing in the Premier League, we were playing against Chelsea, and everyone asked me, who's the best player you've ever played against? And I say Drogba in his prime. Now, there's a number of reasons for this. Number one, he was so strong, so quick, so good at everything, but he smelled amazing. Honestly, I don't know what it was, but he must have took a bath in Creed before he went. Genuinely, he just used to run past me, and I used to get this whip up my nostril. I was like, oh, idiot. And I'll never forget that. Of all the things I remember, the smell of Didier Drogba was just something else.
That's brilliant. So, mate, I'm gonna just ask you a quick question before we look to come to a conclusion, because you know we appreciate you've given us plenty of your time tonight. But so what do you think the future holds for you in terms of where do you go from here? You're obviously successful. You're doing really well with the Barrow team at the moment. Is it to manage in the Premier League one day?
Yeah. Again, like this is where, as a character, some people might find this a bit controversial. but it's just how much I believe in myself. And I know I'll manage in the Premier League. I know it. I don't, and you might think that's arrogance. It's not arrogance, it's just confidence. And I've said before, unless you believe you can be the best at anything, there's no point doing it for me. There's no point even starting. So my belief is that I will be a Premier League manager one day. How I get there and how long it takes me, I don't know. At the minute, I'm loving my job. My first job in management, I've learned so much. You know, to get promoted with that team as my first job is something really special. The downside to that is, you know yourself, you don't win trophies very often in football, and to not be able to celebrate it with the players and to not have that physical moment of lifting trophies in front of fans and crowds and having open top bus tours and stuff like that, that's kind of all been taken away from us from no fault of our own. But what it has done is it strengthened my desire to do it again. And yeah, during this lockdown, you know, people are doing different things and seeing different things and using their time differently. My time has been spent thinking about how I can improve as a manager, how I can improve my team, what I need to be doing. So I've been reading books, I've been watching games, watching footage, watching training grounds, watching, there's so much stuff on TV now, documentaries about other sports and how they're coached. So I'm just taking information in, and the more information I can take in, the better. So yeah, I'm just using this time to improve, but definitely one day I see myself as a Premier League manager.
And finally, as a Cov kid who's made it into the Premier League, what advice could you give to young players that are local footballers that could help them along the way?
Simple, really. Like I've mentioned during this whole thing, really, is take all the excuses out of it. Don't give yourself any excuses. Commit to everything. Football nowadays is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You have to give it everything. And that still might not be enough, by the way. It might not. And we have to be realistic that, you know, that could be the case. But as I've said, if after that period of time, you can look back in the mirror and look at yourself and say, do you know what, I gave it my best shot, then happy days, you know. Fair play to you. The minute you don't give it your best and you're out partying or going down parks, hanging around with lads that want to drink and booze, we never did that. We were over practicing playing football. We were doing other things while there was parties going on or whatever else. We were strict and we dedicated ourselves to football. And you have to do that to make it. You don't make it by chance or by luck. You make it by dedicating yourself to it and taking all the excuses away. And if you do that and you give it your best shot and you practice as hard as you can and you live your life properly and you fuel your body the correct way, you've got a great chance. And that's what I will say is, as I said, just take the excuses out of it and do the best you can.
Fantastic, mate.
Yeah, amazing.
Kieran, anything else?
No, I think that's it. Just good luck. Hopefully we get some good news. Barrow going up. Do you know anything you can secretly say?
It looks like the EFL aren't going to finish League One and League Two, but they're going to go down this points per game, either the weighted route or the normal points per game, which is good for Cov because I still think that promotes them.
Yep.
And in turn, it will be good for us because it all filters down. From what I know, the Premier League have to restart. They've got no choice because of
the broadcasting rights.
Broadcasting rights, yeah. It's not so much Sky. It's like Al Jazeera and all them.
Yeah, Qatar and stuff.
They're the ones that are going mad. So I think there will be promotions and relegations. I think the Premier League will finish, but the other leagues won't. And then when we start again, it's anyone's guess, really.
Yeah.
Anyone's guess.
It's looking June time for Premier League.
Premier League will be June, but I mean next season.
Yeah.
Cov, you know, back in the Championship, hopefully, us being in League Two. That you're looking at potentially September, October time with no fans, but then 2021 before the supporters back at the stadium.
Definitely.
What's happening with Cov's ground? What's the script there? They're still going to rent Birmingham, even if they end up in the same league?
I'd say they'd have to go to the Rico. Because I reckon they'd sell it out. The Championship level now is so good that people want to go and see Championship teams. So I'd say the Rico would have them back.
It's like another leg to the Premier League now.
Yeah, definitely.
The size of the clubs in there.
It's so hard down here, Evo, because nobody really has a full picture as what's happening. There's so many people involved. It's a real it's really muddy water. So you're almost. I speak a lot to people who are involved in sort of lead the supporters associations and things like that, because they tend to go to all the meetings and they're quite close to it. So I sort of ask them on what their thoughts are, and but obviously there's a lot of uncertainty at the moment. So we'll see. We'll see. Fingers crossed to get back to the Rico. We're in the Championship.
The good thing for me is that Coventry's kind of stuck to its roots, and they've always had a great youth setup, and they've always encouraged young players into the first team setup. And to see young players doing what they're doing now is great, you know. And hopefully, as I said, the worst thing that ever happened was them selling Highfield Road. Yeah. I mean, funny enough, this is how weird my life is. That I signed for QPR, a random London club, and we get Cov the first game at the Rico. And yeah, and Doyle gets Danny Shittu sent off after about 2 minutes because he's telling him his breath stinks in the tunnel. Danny didn't take too kindly to that, big Danny. And Klaus Jorgensen scored the goal. I remember that, because I ended up playing with Klaus at Blackpool. So yeah,
I think he's still local. I think he's settled down this way.
Yeah, he has. I think he lives in Leamington, I think.
I think you're right, yeah.
So it's like I say, I always get, you know, sucked back in somehow from when I was at Derby, and I used to come back and see you lot, and we'll go to Yates's on a Saturday night and jumping jacks, and then we evolved and started going to Birmingham.
But you didn't take that silver suit off, mate. You used to like that one, didn't you?
No, yeah, I remember it. I remember we went to, I think it was House of Fraser in Birmingham, and it was Boxing Day sales. And we were
Did we get some Patrick Cox?
Patrick Cox, remember them? The loafers. Oh,
you had a good range of them.
I had the grey ones to match the suit. Oh, you know, all the fine women.
Good times. Good times.
You look like Miami Vice, me and Tom. Another story. We went on holiday to Magaluf, and I look back at stuff now. I think my nan had some pictures of it, and I had me Derby first team squad number shorts on, parading around Magaluf on you know, these crawls with like Derby County shorts on with 29 on. No wonder they got rid of me.
Oh God, we had some good times, mate, didn't we?
Some great times. Really
good. It was good fun. Well, listen, I'm going to leave it there, mate, and just say thank you very much for taking time out to have a chat with us.
Yeah, good.
Cheers. Thank you.
Brilliant, mate. All right then. Take it easy.
All right, see you later. Cheers. Mate. Thank you.